What is your favorite Mario Kart? That's a question that will get you many different answers. Some might say the DS version was the best because of its mission mode and balloon battle. Others might say the N64 was the best. Some pretentious hardcore Nintendo gamers will probably say the Wii version is the only correct answer. And nobody is going to mention the Game Boy version. Sorry, Super Circuit. But a majority of people are probably going to say that Mario Kart 8 is the best. And for many good reasons. Not only is this the most recent Mario Kart, but it's had a lot of updates and improvements since its original release 11 years ago. Damn, has it really been that long? So with this game now officially being completed and Mario Kart 9 on the horizon, I've decided to take a retrospective look at it and truly decide if this game is the best Mario Kart out there. Because my opinion is the correct one. I will try to be as objective as possible, but please remember that this is my opinion as well. I'm going to look at this game and judge it based on its graphics, tracks, characters, overall mechanics, and battle mode. So let's get into it. So, to put this simply as possible, this game is gorgeous, just straight up gorgeous. That's all I have to say. Just kidding, but I don't think I'm saying anything controversial when I say that this game looks the best out of all of them. I mean, that makes most sense considering that this is the most recent title. For being a Nintendo game, it's always a surprise when you see how well this looks. It's even more impressive considering that this was originally released on the Wii U back in 2014. I mean, to be fair, this is a racing game, but it's still, the lighting and colors just look amazing. Every character is perfectly detailed and the tracks are equally good looking as well. The game is kind of going for this more realistic look, and in most cases, I would say that doesn't work for a Nintendo game, but this is perfectly fits the style of a racing game. This game easily gets a 10 out of 10 for its graphics. Oh wait, there's the booster course pass. Yeah, so while half the game looks amazing, Nintendo would later on release 48 more courses. And while this is great, when you look at some of these tracks, you wonder, how the hell is this the same game? I mean, Toad Circuit for 3DS, anyone? A lot of these tracks just don't look that good, to put it simply. They feel like plastic and lack a lot of detail that the original ones had, which is weird when you consider this to be a remaster. Like, the grass is just one color, then a few blades popping out here and there. The buildings look very flat and lifeless. The whole booster course kind of just looks like an arcade game. It's very cartoonish and colorful, but it doesn't match with the existing art style of the base game. Tracks just lack so many details. A great example is the DS course Shroom Ridge. I love this course on the DS because it feels like a road trip with the way you're high in the mountains and surrounded by trees. But when you go to the Switch version, everything just feels off with this course graphically. Like, it just seems too bright when compared to the original vibe, and there's no detail in the backgrounds, and it also lacks a lot of the trees the original one had. There's like one or two here and there, but then other than that, it feels barren. These tracks really bring down the game graphically. I'll judge them fully in a bit, but just look-wise, they're objectively not that great. But the weird thing is too, some look better than others. In particular, all the tracks out of the city ones and are really bright and sunny are probably the worst looking ones in the game. But then you also have tracks like Rainbow Road 3DS and Snowland that actually look pretty good. I mean, they're not original Mario Kart level of details, but like, look at the lighting for these maps. It's serviceable and not bad. For all the really old Mario Karts, these are generally an upgrade. I mean, let's be real, the SNES and Game Boy weren't looking too good back then, so these obviously look better. But as far as GameCube and Wii tracks, honestly, I prefer the originals in some cases. So yeah, overall, the graphics are better than previous games, but suffer from a lack of consistency. So this is the game that has the most amount of characters in a mainline Mario Kart, if we're not counting Mario Kart Tour. So like, already, this game has a major advantage out of all the Mario Kart games. Obviously, this one received a bunch of DLC over the years, and that helped fill out the roster. But similarly to the graphics, there's some inconsistency here with the quality of characters. And what do I mean by inconsistency? There's a lot of variant characters. And I mean a lot of them. And most of them aren't that interesting either and really don't make sense. Pinkle Peach, anybody? Like, who is she supposed to be? Point me to the game where she's in, because I don't recall this character being in any Mario game. Like, this is the most obvious example of them adding characters for the sake of it. I know everyone likes to make fun of this character, so I just had to bash on her for a second. But it's not just her that is the problem. I mean, seriously, why the hell do we have every Koopalin in the game? Let's be real here. Who is running these characters? I only remember like 2 of them from the new Super Mario Bros. Series. Personally, they're just not that interesting. And not only that, but we also have characters like Tanuki Mario and Cat Peach. Why do we need them here? Like, having Metal Mario and Gold Mario is cool because they look unique and they provide different character stats. But like, Tanuki Mario is just boring. Shoot, at this rate, we might as well have every power-up version of the characters. But yeah, that's my main gripe with the roster here. Other than that, though, it's pretty solid. I mean, this is the biggest roster we have, so obviously, like, there's something for everyone here. And you don't have to be a Mario-related character if you don't want to be. We got Link, the Inklings, and Villager, and these characters kind of just provide a unique break from the typical Mario roster you see in every game. Not only that, but there's a decent amount of Mario characters that we don't see featured in other games that much. Like, we got Funky Kong, who, let's be real, is the best character in this roster. Where's my Mario Kart Wii fans at?
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT!
But then there's also Petey Piranha, Wiggler, and King Boo. All these are just really cool characters. Also, this is the game that finally added Kamek to the roster. He originally was going to be in Mario Kart 64, but was never added. So it's nice to see him being in the game. And yeah, like, overall, this is a solid roster. If we're rating this on the original Mario Kart 8 alone, then this would easily be one of the worst. But just due to the sheer quantity of characters now, it's the best roster we've ever had. Let's move on to the tracks. While I do care about there being good characters in a Mario Kart game, to me the tracks have always been the most important part of the game. Each one contains a unique vibe and playstyle. In terms of quantity, once again, this game just has the most amount. Featuring 98 tracks, no other Mario Kart game comes close to this. So like, right away, this game has a huge advantage over previous Mario Karts, especially since a lot of the old games didn't even have retro tracks either. But let's take a look at the Nitro tracks first. So I'm just going to start off by saying I'm actually not the biggest fan of Mario Kart 8's Nitro tracks. A lot of them just aren't memorable for me. Obviously, this game starts off with the typical Mario Kart Stadium, which is just your basic track. At least, I guess this one tried to be different and be in the shape of a figure 8. But yeah, it's just a Mario track. But moving on from that, we got some okay tracks like Water Park, Sweet Sweet Canyon, and Dolphin Shoals. Like I said though, these are just okay. I feel like a lot of these tracks are missing some of the wackiness that previous games provided. They just kind of feel generic in a way. Like, take Sunshine Airport for example. This just feels like an airport. You just drive around and there's no stakes to this map. Another map like Bone Dry Desert is just a desert with some bones in it. And this game's Rainbow Road is one of the worst in my opinion. I just feel like some more gimmicks need to be added. Like, remember how in the Wii they took a maple tree and made it huge, and then we had things like wigglers to avoid and leaf piles full of stars and mushrooms? Or another map like Grumble Volcano where it had a unique mechanic where it got smaller in every lap. Those maps just had something interesting going for them. But imagine if like Sunshine Airport had to go through an airplane or something while it's flying through the air. That'd be so cool and make that map feel just a little bit more special. I don't know. It just feels like everything is too safe, which is kind of the theme of Mario Kart 8. It's been so refined that there's really no sense of discovery in these maps. You know, you can't jump off the side and land halfway across the map like you could in N64 Rainbow Road. And stuff like that is what gave the game an extra reward for skill. Another thing too is every map had to incorporate the anti-gravity mechanic. And while in theory it looks cool, you don't really notice it as you're racing. So it ends up just making the maps feel the same. But with that being said though, there are some generally good maps in this game. My personal favorite has to be Mount Wario. I love the whole gimmick of going down a mountain. It makes perfect use of the 3-part track system. I love that Mario Kart 7 even started this trend. Also, I'm a complete sucker for snow maps, so that definitely makes me have a bit of a biased opinion there. Another great map that people love is Electrodome. This one is just a complete bop. Like, literally, get it? Because it's a music map. But yeah, it has a great atmosphere and use of its environment. Another personal favorite is Toad Harbor. This map is nothing like really crazy, I just enjoy it. But yeah, moving on to the retro tracks. So I gotta give this game props. They really did a lot to these tracks. Not only did the graphics improve, but they added new things to them as well. With the inclusion of the anti-gravity mechanic, some of these maps don't even look the same at all. Like, all the Game Boy and SNES maps look so great now. Before, in previous games, you can tell that they were an older map just based on how lifeless and boring they were, but this game actually did a decent job on mixing them up. As far as the roster goes, it's not bad. It's definitely not my favorite selection of retro tracks. That would have to go to Mario Kart 7. A couple standout tracks include Toad's Turnpike, Yoshi Valley, N64 Rainbow Road, and Sherbet Land, mainly just because I like the snow in that map. And as I've mentioned before, a lot of these are obvious improvements, but a few things were taken out that just kind of gave these maps a little bit more uniqueness. The biggest example is Royal Raceway. This map was so cool back then because you can go to the castle, and now that was completely removed. It's understandable, but like, come on, it's the castle. But yeah, these maps are pretty good. And then moving on, we have the original DLC maps. In my opinion, these are some of the best we've gotten as far as new ones go. The F-Zero maps just make a perfect use of the anti-gravity mechanics, and they're the only tracks I actually enjoy 200cc mode on. Other maps like Zelda and Animal Crossing are great because of how unique they are. They change everything from the item boxes to the coins. Also, Animal Crossing is just really cool because of the different seasons you can get. And then yeah, the retro selection was pretty decent as well. Baby Park and Cheeseland are personal highlights for me. And that right there is 48 tracks from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But what's even crazier is that only equals half of the total tracks in this game, because Mario Kart 8 would eventually receive the Booster Course Pass, which in turn doubled the amount of tracks in the entire game, which on paper is really good. I mean, always having more is better, right? But these tracks, like the graphics, are very inconsistent. A couple of great examples include Coconut Mall and Sunset Wilds. Coconut Mall just lacks a lot of personality and life. I don't know why, but Nintendo must think we're dumb or something, because one of the great parts of the original map was having to figure out which side of the escalator to go on. It just added another layer of skill to the game. And now with the arrows, it just makes the map feel too arcadey in a way. A lot of the tour tracks especially have them all over the places, and I don't like how it looks in contrast. It makes these maps feel less lived in and more artificial, if that makes sense. Also, Coconut Mall removed all the Miis, and that just pisses me off. And the cars are just stupid. They did update them, but they're still too easy to avoid. That was always the fun part about the Wii track, was trying to avoid those damn Miis. And then like Sunset Wilds is just an objectively worse version in every way. You remember the unique mechanic for that map? You know, the actual sunset? Well, Nintendo just decided to remove it. I don't know why, but they did. And now this track feels generic. Like, we already have a bunch of desert maps. Why remove the one cool feature of this one? But on the contrary, some maps did receive generally good improvements. Another desert map, Calamari Desert, has this cool feature where you get to ride on the train tracks for one of the laps. It's a great way to mix up the monotonous parts of just racing the same track. I'm honestly surprised Nintendo went the extra mile here, but it was pretty cool. And some of the other city maps did a good job of mixing them up as well. And as always, the Game Boy and SNES maps look objectively better here. I mean, it's not that hard to do, but that was just a bonus of the pass. As far as the roster goes, I think they did a pretty good job. I believe that it was the right decision to add a lot of Wii maps. Like, let's be real, that game had the best Nitro tracks out of any game, and they pretty much gave us the best ones. We all love Koopa Cape, Maple Treeway, and of course, Rainbow Road. And they give us a pretty decent mix of older tracks from other games as well. But, however, I question some of the choices. Do we really need another Mario circuit from both the SNES and DS? Like, really? I would have liked to see more GameCube tracks. I always feel like the game has had some really great choices that should have been included over something like Waluigi Stadium. Also, I'm sorry, but the Tour City tracks just don't do it for me. A couple of them are okay, and it's great that we got them because we never seen them before, but I just prefer mainline Mario courses. Although, to give it props, the new Nitro tracks that we got are some of the best we've ever seen in the series. Like Yoshi's Island and Merry Mountain are probably some of my favorite courses ever now. But yeah, overall, this was a mixed bag. I do feel like that over time, the booster course tracks got better, but some odd choices were made. But let's be real here. Overall, Mario Kart 8 has the best track selection out of any game now. There's just no comparison. But on an individual level, I just don't think the quality was as high as it should have been. So now let's talk about the game's mechanics and overall feel. So Mario Kart 8 just feels great. It is probably the most streamlined Mario Kart experience you can ever get. It does not lag at all and runs so smoothly. It's like the only Nintendo game that can hit 60 FPS, which may not sound that impressive, but this is also the same console that got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And I mean, just look at these games.
Brother, what's that?
And as far as the driving goes, it's smooth and easy to control. It's not floaty like Mario Kart Double Dash was, and you're not forced to use motion controls like you were on Mario Kart Wii. It's just overall easy to steer, and the drifting is nice to use as well. And it's also great that there's an option to get purple sparks. It just kind of gives a little bit more room for skilled players. And as far as the game's balance goes, it's pretty solid. It's not like Mario Kart Wii where everything is just completely crazy. The game is definitely more fair, but sometimes kind of takes that randomness away that the older entries had. Like, Once you get in first place, it's a lot easier to hold that gap than other games. The CPUs don't have no super bullshit speed like they did in Mario Kart 64, and you don't get spammed with blue shells like you did in Wii, which I know makes for a more skill-based experience, but I think one of the beauties of something like Mario Kart Wii was the fact that anyone had a chance to win. I don't know. It just sometimes makes the races feel more dull in this game. It's just my preference. I don't know if that's like what other people agree with, but let me know. And as far as the online play goes, this is easily the best online Mario Kart we've ever gotten. It's smooth and has little to no issues at all. And online, as always, is just a great chaotic experience. When it comes to racing mechanics, this would be the game that introduces anti-gravity. And while this does seem like a cool mechanic on paper, it's not something that I really notice while racing. Like, yeah, it gives you these speed boosts here and there, but other than that, it's just another part of the track. It does give the tracks these crazy cool looks though, but I wouldn't be sad if they didn't release this in another Mario Kart game. Not sure that's controversial or not, but I said it. Also, the gliding and underwater mechanics are just kind of eh. Once again, they don't feel that important, but something I do have to compliment the game for is improving the time for recovery when you fall off the track. Finally, it doesn't take 7 years to get back up. Thank you. But overall, it's the most refined Mario Kart experience you can have. It's equally rewarding for new players and more skilled racers. The only real downsides, as I've mentioned a few times, is just missed a bit of that wackiness that other games had. You can no longer go to the side of the map and get to lap 3 in a few seconds, nor can you jump halfway across the tracks without getting pulled back to where you were, which makes sense why they changed these, but like, these were cool features back in the day. And as far as the items go, they're pretty balanced. You don't have anything BS like the Thundercloud or anything, so I would say overall it's a decent item selection. It's not my favorite on an individual level. Some items like the Super 8 are just not that exciting, and the coin is really annoying. But overall, it's okay. One last thing I want to talk about though in this section is the unlock system. While I do like the idea of coins being a part of the game now, I find the way you unlock things to be kind of boring. I think coins are great for just unlocking kart parts, but like, I wish we left character and track unlocks for completing the Grand Prix. In my opinion, Mario Kart Wii had the best system for this. It constantly made you excited to see a new character join the roster whenever you would complete a CC or something. And you were always left wondering what the other tracks would be. I get why they made this new system. They figured people would just want to play with whatever track and character since the game was already released on the Wii U, but it just left a lot of discovery out of it. The only character you can really unlock at this point is Gold Mario, which is cool, but not enough. Overall though, this is the smoothest Mario Kart experience you will get. Maybe not the most chaotic, which depending on who you are, you will either like it or not like it. But yeah, it's definitely the best mechanically. And lastly, there is the battle mode. I'm only going to talk about this section briefly since I'm not a big battle mode player. So if you remember, the original Mario Kart 8 battle mode was pretty bad. You only had players fight on courses from the regular game. I never understood why Nintendo did this. These courses were just not made for this, but thankfully they fixed this in Deluxe. And while this is great, I find this battle mode to be kind of generic. The courses are okay, the nitro tracks are pretty nice, but I wish they went with some more retro ones. Something like Nintendo DS or Block Fort would have been really cool. Or shoot, even for a nitro track, they could have added the Nintendo Switch. The big reason why I don't like this game's battle mode though is because of the time system. I really miss the old style of balloon battle where it went off eliminations. I mean, it makes sense why they did a time-based system considering that the game now had online multiplayer, but it would have been nice to have a choice between the two options. And as far as the other game modes go, I'm not like a huge fan of Shine Thief and Coin Runners. I don't know, these ones just don't do it for me. They're okay. I did really enjoy Bomb Blast. That one is just chaotic and fun. But definitely the highlight of this game mode was Renegade Roundup. This is one of my favorite battle games ever. It's a cops and robbers style where you either have to hide from other people or catch them. I love these kind of game modes in games. It's the only new battle mode in Mario Kart, but it's definitely worth it. But yeah, overall, that is Mario Kart 8's battle mode. Like I said, nothing crazy for me. It definitely has a lot of content for it. I mean, also modern Mario Kart battle modes are generally better because you can play with more than 4 players, unlike the originals. So it's definitely the best for that reason. I just think some small things were missing that could have made it perfect. Now let's move on to the end of this video. And so yeah, that would be a complete look at Mario Kart 8. This game definitely had the advantage of just having a lot of things in it. This is a game that released all the way back in 2014 with a good amount of tracking characters, but it then got DLC which added more, and then got re-released on the Switch which added even more content and gave it a little bit more polish graphically, and then it finally received the Booster Course Pass, which once again added more tracks and characters. So is it the best Mario Kart game? Well, the boring answer is yes. This one is just simply the most refined experience of Mario Kart you can get with the most amount of content ever. With that being said though, would this game be the best if it didn't receive all the updates in DLC? Probably not. It's a pretty inconsistent game as far as quality goes, and I just don't care for a lot of the things that were in the base one. Nothing in this game is flat out bad, but I just think some games did certain things better. Personally, I'm still a sucker for Mario Kart Wii, and I prefer that game's style over this one. So now as we move on to the Switch 2 and the next Mario Kart game, here's what I hope they do. It's obvious that it's going to be hard to compete with the amount of content in this one. So I hope Mario Kart 9, or whatever it's called, focuses on adding more chaotic fun. Things like crazy track mechanics or wacky items can really spice up the gameplay. And from the little we've seen, it looks like they're going in that direction with the inclusion of 24 racers. That's just going to make things so wild, so I'm really excited to see how it turns out. And while I do love the way Mario Kart 8 looks, I kind of dig the more cartoonish style they're going for. It just feels very Mario-y. Like, Mario just looks more expressive here and is stylish. I'm really excited for the future of this franchise. As always, it's a Mario Kart game, so let's be real, we're all gonna play it no matter what happens. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be the video. Thank you for watching my first video on this YouTube channel. As far as the future goes, I will definitely be doing a lot more Nintendo stuff and probably some Xbox stuff as well. I don't know how much of that though, because let's be real, Xbox has been going through some rough patches right now. But if you're into like video essays and retrospectives on gaming, then definitely stick around for this channel in the future. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely give me a like and subscribe if you don't mind. But other than that, guys, I will see you in the next one. Later.